Robert De Niro is 80, and it seems like he has always been with us. Over his 60-year career in cinema, the actor has tried his hand at various roles and genres, appearing at times in unexpected projects.
You miss me? You doing good? Huh?
De Niro's performances are often taken for granted, forgetting that he is a truly phenomenal artist who earned his fame through hard work and remarkable physicality, long before Christian Bale and Joaquin Phoenix. In essence, De Niro is the favorite actor of our favorite actors and directors.
Do the famous line.
No.
In this video, we will explore his creative journey and try to understand how De Niro repeatedly reinvented himself, becoming one of the greatest actors in history.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Robert De Niro was born in America to a family of artists. Even in childhood, he began showing interest in the performing arts by participating in school theater. In his youth, he started attending acting classes based on Stanislavski's system, which involves a deep immersion of the artist into the role and genuine experiencing of the character's emotions. Later, this would become the foundation of De Niro's creative method. The actor made his debut in cinema in Brian De Palma's The Wedding Party. However, due to production difficulties, the film was released several years later. So formally, the first film featuring the actor is 3 Rooms in Manhattan, by French classic Marcel Carné. De Niro appeared in several modest comedies for De Palma, showcasing a great talent for improvisation, especially in terms of humor.
Because I think I can play a cop. Sure, I know I can.
Come on, out my goddamn door! We're gonna have any perverts here? What'd you say? What'd you say? What do you mean? That friend of yours? What are you protesting? Let me see a permit.
For a while, the actor accepted supporting and episodic roles. He even worked with Roger Corman, the king of Grindhouse. In the early 70s, De Niro caught the attention of Martin Scorsese, a close friend of Brian De Palma, and his comrade in the New Hollywood movement. This movement reformed the previous studio production system and turned to realistic plots in American cinema. De Niro and Scorsese quickly found common ground, as both of them had Italian roots, and they spent their childhood in the same New York neighborhood. Scorsese invited the actor to his new film Mean Streets, which became a breakthrough for both of them, marking the beginning of one of the most iconic creative partnerships in the history of cinema. Although Harvey Keitel played the lead role in the film, critics paid special attention to the nervy performance of the emerging actor. De Niro portrayed a debt-ridden gambler, diving headfirst into a world of trouble. The actor had to convey the tense inner life of a character who couldn't find his place in the world.
I don't have the guts. Come on, asshole. Come over here. Come over here. I'll put this up your ass.
Real success came to him a year later with the release of The Godfather Part 2. Although he auditioned for the role of Sonny, the eldest son of the Don in the first film, he ultimately chose a different project. In the second Godfather, De Niro played the young Vito Corleone and won his first Oscar. The uniqueness of the situation lies in the fact that Marlon Brando won an award for the same role in the first part. However, while Brando portrayed an already established character, De Niro had a more ambitious task to show the psychological dynamics of the character, depicting how he transformed from a simple grocer and family man into the mafia don. When the transformation occurs, the young Vito begins to speak almost in Marlon Brando's voice.
Yeah, there's something I do for you. You come, you talk,
Grazie.
huh?
Grazie.
State buono.
Due to the character's taciturn nature, De Niro vividly presents the character through body language, a firm stride, and well-calculated movements. Much of this consistency is the result of the actor's extensive preparation. When preparing for a role, he often left detailed comments in the margins of the script, envisioning the character's life circumstances or scene details, not explicitly written in the text. Moreover, the sequel The Godfather Part 2 marked the first joint film of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Their friendship has lasted for several decades, even though they didn't share the screen at that time. Specifically for the shoot, De Niro spent several months learning the Sicilian dialect and spoke almost no lines in English in the film.
Il padre si chiama Antonio Andolini e questo è petit.
However, an even more impressive performance by De Niro came in Scorsese's next project, Taxi Driver, one of the most iconic works in his filmography. For the role of Travis Bickle, a lonely Vietnam War veteran, the actor learned to handle weapons. worked as a taxi driver, and interacted with real military personnel. The mohawk hairstyle, a crucial detail in the character's image, marking his internal changes, was suggested by one of the soldiers. The viewer may not be aware of the scale of the preparatory work, but it becomes apparent during the viewing. In expressive and highly naturalistic details, De Niro invested himself fully. Portraying a physically and psychologically exhausted individual, he primarily delved into the character's troubled psychophysics. Jerky, uncertain movements, a dull gaze, poorly controlled facial expressions.
Here is a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the cunts, the dogs, the filth, the shit. Here is someone who stood up.
It seems as if everything indicates that Travis is uncomfortable in his own body, not to mention the frighteningly thin appearance of the character. Before the start of filming, De Niro had to lose almost 20 kilograms. The character of Travis Bickle, created by the actor, would later inspire many lost heroes. An improvised continuation of the taxi driver character was Michael Cimino's The Deer Hunter, in which De Niro once again played a soldier who had experienced the Vietnam War. However, this time, not a lone figure on the brink of insanity, but a loyal friend trying to save a longtime comrade. The Deer Hunter did not bring De Niro personal awards, but it gifted one of the most intense scenes in his career, where the characters engage in Russian roulette. De Niro's body of work often includes traumatized men, for whom cruelty and violence become a way to achieve inner completeness. In this regard, the most indicative role is Jake LaMotta, the boxer from Raging Bull, another collaboration between De Niro and Scorsese. Besides serious physical training for the role, the actor learned to box and gained significant weight. Raging Bull is interesting for its dramatic contrasts. Cruel boxing matches in the film coexist with quiet, psychological, nuanced scenes. Watch how through a relatively long monologue referencing Marlon Brando's famous role, De Niro turns Jake LaMotta into almost an epic hero.
It was you, Charlie. You was my brother. You should have looked out for me a little bit. You should have taken care of me just a little bit, instead of making me take them dice for the short-end money.
Not surprisingly, for this impressive portrayal of a man in crisis, he received his second and currently last Academy Award. Raging Bull, one of the last films of the New Hollywood era, symbolically underscores an important period in the actor's filmography, when he was an icon of change in studio cinema. In the 1980s, aside from Raging Bull, De Niro participated in several notable projects with European and American directors, such as Sergio Leone, Terry Gilliam, Alan Parker. A new peak in his career comes in the 1990s. The actor was accustomed to playing anti-heroes, but since the late 1980s, he more often appeared as a full-fledged antagonist. For example, in Scorsese's Goodfellas, he played a cruel and cunning gangster. Here De Niro sometimes needs just one piercing glance to convey all the danger emanating from the character. An even more chilling antagonist was portrayed by De Niro in Cape Fear, a remake of the Hollywood classic, where he plays a released convict, pursuing his lawyer. In terms of energy, this is no longer the enraged youth Travis Bickle, but a true evil spirit bearing cruel revenge.
The people call Samuel J. Bowden.
A similar situation arose with the new reinterpretation of Frankenstein. De Niro demonstrated remarkable transformation for the role of the monster. His heavy actor's style sets this film apart in his filmography. However, the actor's performance did not save the film from criticism. Nevertheless, this is typical for other unsuccessful projects involving De Niro. Critics might pan the film, but the actor's performance would generally be praised.
De Niro is sitting there. God bless you, Bob. He's got the beard on. To know him is a treat. He's one of the great actors of our time. You ask him.
In the mid-90s, Scorsese releases the spiritual successor to Goodfellas, Casino, where De Niro takes on the role of managing a gambling empire. The film also features Joe Pesci, who previously starred in Goodfellas, and the dramatic tension is built precisely between these two characters.
When you asked me if you could come out here, what did I tell you? I mean, you asked me, and I knew you were going to come out no matter what I said, but what did I tell you? Do you remember what I told you?
Back
Do you remember what I told
fucking
you?
minute here. 1 minute. I asked you, when the fuck did I ever ask you if I could come out here?
Pesci plays a brutal and unpredictable gangster, while De Niro portrays a calculated manager. A similar dynamic underlies the plot of Michael Mann's Heat, in which De Niro once again appears alongside Al Pacino, though this time their characters are on opposite sides of the law. De Niro is a professional thief, and Pacino an honest police officer. The actors share limited screen time, but it is enough for the audience to understand that there is much more common ground between them than meets the eye.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
De Niro played an antagonist to another iconic actor of New Hollywood, Dustin Hoffman, in Barry Levinson's Wag the Dog. In the plot, both are involved in a political conspiracy, showing the war on television, to save the falling ratings of the president. Hoffman's character ostensibly acts in the name of art, while De Niro's character manipulates him to achieve specific political goals.
We want you to produce.
You want me to produce your war?
Not a war, it's a pageant. We need a theme, a song, some visuals. We need, it's a pageant. It's like the Oscars, that's why we came to you.
By the late 90s, De Niro had also worked with Tarantino and Jackie Brown, but his role there is more ironic, debunking the devilish seriousness of gangster images he embodied, for example in Scorsese's films.
Hey, don't say anything else, okay? Keep your mouth shut.
Well,
I mean, don't say one fucking word, okay?
okay, Louis.
In the same decade, De Niro embarked on several unexpected creative experiments. Firstly, he took on the role of a character suffering from encephalitis lethargica, once again employing expressive physicality and showcasing his dramatic talent from a new perspective. Secondly, De Niro tried his hand at directing. A Bronx Tale serves as an antithesis to Scorsese's gangster dramas. De Niro's character in it rejects the mafia-centric view of life and chooses to remain an honest man. The experiment was deemed successful by critics, but De Niro returned to directing full-length films only once, and that too almost 15 years later.
No matter what anyone tells you, there'll be no one you can really trust.
By the early 2000s, the actor had become synonymous with serious dramatic roles, and his comedic past was somewhat forgotten. Therefore, the sudden turn to comedies, as seen in the series of films about meeting the parents, was a significant surprise for many. Nevertheless, De Niro's comedic phase began quite logically with the reevaluation of gangster images. For instance, in Harold Ramis's Analyze This, he played a tough mobster who, due to a nervous breakdown, starts seeing a psychotherapist.
Have you been under a lot of stress lately?
Like, see your best friend murdered?
That would qualify.
Yeah, I got a lot of stress.
From this point onward, the actor increasingly participated in self-parodies. In contrast to earlier films, De Niro now intentionally overacts, with exaggerated facial expressions and movements. However, his status as a great actor is so unquestionable that prominent contemporary directors consider it an honor to work with him in any role. The late career achievement of De Niro lies in his ability to portray elderly characters on the big screen with a smile and warmth. Audiences witness the actor aging in real time, but not losing his creative enthusiasm. Finally, in The Irishman, after a long hiatus, De Niro reunites with Martin Scorsese, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino. In the context of their collaborative work, this film looks like a poignant epitaph for gangster cinema, demystifying the images of once invulnerable criminals. It's a grim tale about the old age of the mafia, and, in a broader sense, about his own. Notably, in the same year as The Irishman, Joker was released, aesthetically oriented towards early Scorsese films, particularly The King of Comedy. However, this time the actor portrays not an awkward comedian, but a renowned talk show host. When the new Travis Bickle attacks him in the finale, he, like Brando before him, passes the baton of primacy to the next generation of artists.
Good night, and always remember, that's...
Nevertheless, the actor does not plan to retire just yet. This year, a new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, was released, where De Niro once again takes on one of the central roles, alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. Additionally, the actor is a co-founder of the Tribeca Festival, launched after the tragedy of September 11th. Some argue that De Niro can be a challenging conversationalist.
You know what? We're done. I'm not going to say another word.
And in real life, may not always appear as the amiable grandfather he currently portrays on the big screen. However, regardless, the history of cinema is impossible to imagine without his taxi drivers and raging bulls, shaping the course of filmmaking for decades to come. In a sense, actors like Robert De Niro are synonymous with cinema.